Alright, welcome back to the Daily Event. So, we are not even one day in to 2025. And so there's a variety of things that I could cover. So I've been seeing some stuff about that Tesla truck bomb. When I first saw the initial footage, it kind of seemed... It resembled fireworks initially, which I thought was kind of weird considering it was like initially I think we were just told it was like or from what I was seeing on Twitter, it was like it looked like the car caught fire, blew up. Like I assumed from like the battery and stuff like that. Apparently, Elon said on Twitter that like the telemetry of the truck at the time before the explosion was normal, so it wasn't the truck's fault. And then later on, we found out that it was a result of the. Let's see this here. That it was a result of explosives.
Again, you'll see the fire initially, they covered it with the tarp to try to get it to go out. Once the fire went out through the suppression efforts of the fire department, you'll see some of the evidence in the back of the vehicle.
So yeah, they take tarp away. Then there's a bunch of stuff in there. So I assume
they are camp
is
fuel
this firework
canisters
shells?
and large firework mortars.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. And what's quite interesting, like you look at the lack of bending
like you to pay
to the
attention
car.
To on that video, as you see that, it looks like the exterior of that truck is completely intact as it sits there.
Like obviously glass is like broken or melted
really
or whatever, but then
inside of the valet,
you see that like there's a lot of structural integrity that's probably still intact here.
In fact, if you look on that video, you'll see that the front glass doors at the Trump hotel were not even broken.
Yeah, so the building itself right now looks
in front of. You can see that in the video
pretty much
there.
fine. Although there's a lot of stuff that's really blown out with the exposure of the camera. So it seems like it could have been a lot worse. I don't think anybody was hurt. If you look at like what Elon said here, picked the wrong vehicle for a terrorist attack. Cybertruck actually contained the explosion and directed the blast upwards. Not even the glass doors of the lobby were broken. Right, so this could have been way worse. This should put all down. It's too bad. So it's worth noting. Oh yeah. Okay, if that's accurate, where this guy was just there, if that's how it went down. Yeah. So it was quite the way to start off. Well, I mean, it wasn't the first story that happened today, but I didn't expect that. So, something else that's worth noting is people were posting about this and kind of basically saying that it was a metaphor for kind of the current state of affairs when it comes to... I don't know if they necessarily meant America specifically or if they just meant like Trump's campaign or Trump's camp. So anyway, I'll get to what I'm talking about here. So here's an example. So this is from Chase on Twitter. So the symbolism here is extraordinary. If we go to Candace, she also made a post about it as well. Where is it at? Come on, okay. I don't know if I scrolled past it, like froze for a second. Yeah, timely symbolism, stuff like that. And then you have Tim Pool here. When you understand these people want to kill you, it makes sense, right? And like, so it depends on how you want to interpret it, right? Because initially, and this is what the part that maybe was a bit ironic, or not ironic, but what made this, if it is a metaphor display, what makes it kind of interesting is initially you might think, oh, look, at this is representative of Trump's cabinet right now, whether you want to say dumpster fire or whatever. But then you have Tim Pool's spin on it when it's like, you know what, maybe it's not necessarily a symbolism for like how Elon might be causing damage to Trump or the cabinet might be looking not so great or whatever, but maybe it's just more in a literal sense of like this is a result of people trying to cause harm to them as a team, like to Trump's team. And then what I said after the fact, oh dear, I have to scroll back a little bit. Where'd it go? Okay. So I responded to this here, right? Where, because I think at the time my thinking was because the Cybertruck, if Elon's deduction is correct here, directed the blast upwards, so to some degree not necessarily contained but redirected in a manner that caused less harm. If that is indeed accurate, then does that change the symbolism of the event here that people were referring to earlier as, seemingly inherently negative? Possibly. Like, is this a metaphor for maybe about how is Elon directing damage away from Trump as a result of him being part of the team? Again, like, it's one of those things where, like, it could be meaningful symbolism, and then we could also be maybe reading too much into it, but sometimes things are ironic and relevant like that, because it's interesting to see, like, this is one of the symptoms of how things seem to be going right now. I tweeted something out about kind of the state of affairs post-election, where for a moment, it was like there was right-wing unity, where I don't even know. Okay, yeah. So this tweet here. So we had some right-wing unity there for a minute. Here we go. Right, here we go, being to, like, because this was, I think, one of the days when I was on Twitter, and they were the H-1B visa stuff was being debated a lot on X, where people, like, all of a sudden there's a lot of, like, I want to be careful in how I use my words here, because I don't want to sound like I'm really humoring the whole overly progressive side of the aisle here, because as soon as you say anything like anti-etc. group rhetoric, then you automatically are kind of lumped in with progressives and stuff like that, and I don't want to do that. But it's like, it seems like, let's just say that Indians were catching some heat that day, verbally on Twitter, and again, like, not everybody's the same, right? Like, and even like the Denzel Washington quote was, "It's not color, it's culture," right? So, like, just because you look like somebody else doesn't mean you act the same. Like, this is obvious. But at the same time, like, if people are coming from a specific place, right? So if people are coming from India or from whatever other country, that country's probably going to have a dominant culture. So what is the percent likelihood that if people come from a given country, they are going to have more of that cultural leaning? Like, in a dominant Muslim country, it's going to be probably more seldom that people coming from there to a Christian country are going to share the Christian values, right? It's just kind of basic stuff, right? So now that we got, and I don't know all this stuff about, the nuances of the H-1B visa thing, but as far as I would just guess based on what I have seen and heard, it seems like, so this is kind of where we're at now. So this is from Elijah Schaefer. So Team USA is correct on this issue. I'm guessing this is referring to the H-1B visa thing. Also, I don't know how Timcast ended up on Team Elon. He was Team USA. A few people on there were actually on our side. So yeah. So this is, again, like, part of, like, kind of what I was saying, like, where we had, like, in November, like, there was some right-wing unity for, like, a good minute there, and now it seems like, I don't know when it exactly turned. You could argue somewhere in December, because as of, like, New Year's Eve, there's definitely probably something out there that was showing how, like, there's the new kind of civil war and infighting. And I guess it's kind of like, once we kind of conquer the current battle, then we move on to the next battle. And so, and again, when you have this whole big tent right-wing thing going on, you might have a lot of different viewpoints under that big tent that they all agree on, like, a few select things, like more of the common sense issues. But once you get into some more nuanced stuff, then everybody's true colors on other issues maybe start appearing. So we're kind of there now, I guess, where you look at a variety of different people here. So I don't know all these people, but you got like, Libs of TikTok, Jack Posobiec, Stu Peters, Elijah Schaefer, Chase, The Quartering, Cassandra, Salty Cracker. I think that's Wall Street something. I can't remember. Wall Street something or other. It's not. I don't think that's not the Wall Street Bets account. I don't think this. I think this is Clandestine something or other. There's Patrick Bet David, Alex Jones, Charlie Kirk, Hodge Twins, Benny Johnson, Cat Turd, Ian Miles Chong. That's like a bit of a loaded topic. Tim Castrite, so Tim Pool, Mark Levin. That one doctor. I can't remember his name right now. mRNA guy. She's from OAN, I think. That's that streamer that I guess talks about politics, I think, sometimes. That's, is that the Right to Bear Memes? Kayla Peterson, etc. Right? So you got a lot of these people. If you would have backtracked to early November, pretty much all of them, I'm just assuming, would have been on the same side, Team USA. So it's like, and even people would have viewed Elon as Team USA. But where are we at now? Where we got certain nuanced issues maybe emerging, and again, I'm not super familiar with the whole H-1B visa argument, right? But essentially, the idea being that, and I'm gonna watch Sam Hyde's video at some point and do some commentary on that. But essentially, like, it comes down to how America first really are you, right? I'm not American, full transparency, but like, generally speaking, how America first are you in terms of policy, and how is that going to play out in different decisions that you make? So if, again, I don't know if this is exactly how the situation is, but if Elon professes to be America first, but then if he chooses to go in a direction that seems like he's more prioritizing the H-1B visa, bringing in outside of country help, rather than prioritizing the equipping and the training and the use of American citizenry in the workforce of the stuff he wants to do. And like, if that's true, what are the reasons for that? Like, this is where, like, truth probably comes out. And so people gotta like now decide, like, hey, what are you really made of? What are you really all about? Because like the next 4 years is going to be kind of like the make or break of, are you really who you kind of said you were before, made yourself seem like before? I'm going to get into another video that not another video, but there was a video that Elijah posted earlier today, and it was just a really quick little YouTube short or something like that, and it was, where is it? Gotta go back to my bookmarks here. It kind of summed up about how, like, I'll put it this way, things have changed, but they haven't really changed. And I would say that things are better right now, with Elon having Twitter, than before under like the whole Dorsey, etc., whoever else he had in charge running the show. But so Elijah, I would say, as maybe as hyperbolic or as slightly offensive as he may be, if you look at the core of what he's saying, ask yourself, like, is he wrong? You know what I mean? So I'm just going to play the video and you could decide for yourself. But just think about what he's saying and think about the core points and ask yourself, is he wrong or is he right? So anyway, we'll go to the video.
You can tell someone, go back to Europe, and you don't get locked out. But if you say go back to India, you do. And so, you see this with certain groups like Jewish people and with Indians where they get special protections. And so it's like, on the old app, you could be anti-Semitic and anti-Indian, but you couldn't be, anti-LGBTQ or anti-black. And now you can share black crime videos and make fun of genders, but you can't speak out against, your problems with India or with Israel. It's like, we've just changed the topics that are censored now. And it's like, you're just getting a Republican version of censorship, which is just to remind you guys, tech oligarchs and these people may not have our best intentions when it comes, when it comes to looking out for us. I'm just reminding people, I'm not complaining because it's always been the same, but oftentimes it's the same system, different owners type of thing. I just wish people would wake up to realize that things haven't changed as much as they think, and that they're being gaslit into thinking that they have more freedom than they do.
So, pretty quick summary of kind of current state of affairs, where it's like, yeah, do you think that you have more freedom than you really do? And this is kind of like, so him bringing up that point is kind of a good transition into this idea that, like, people sometimes, or at least some people, kind of refuse to admit that it could be as bad as something, or on the way to being as bad as something, until it actually gets there, right? So for example, as soon as you make genocide comparisons or anything akin to like saying, well, XYZ thing or treatment of specific people or groups is what led to the Holocaust, or it's a loaded topic, right? But it's like as soon as you start making comparisons, then sometimes the reaction is like, how dare you compare XYZ to something like the Holocaust or something like XYZ tragedy. And it's like, so do you have to wait until it gets that bad in order for you to actually say, okay, this is that bad, or this is on the track to being that bad? It's like there's almost like this denial of willing to admit that it's maybe the same characteristics until it's too late. It's like people don't want to like necessarily wake up and smell the roses and say, you know what, this is the same kind of bad thing, it just hasn't fully played out yet. So like rather than like nip it in the bud, or whatever the expression is for like stopping it before it gets there, we're gonna like say, oh, well, no, it's not that bad, and then you're only gonna say, oh crap, once it actually gets that bad. So it's like people's preventative measures are not necessarily up to par with where they should be, maybe. So we're gonna we'll see how that goes. But essentially, it's like when people talk about how Twitter's like free speech now, I don't actually think that it is. From what I hear, it's like it's probably better, but like how much? Probably maybe the best example of a social media platform that's probably close to as legal free speech as possible, and legal free speech in the sense of like what the actual First Amendment protected speech is, like, because you have like protected speech versus not protected speech, like legal versus illegal, right? And there's probably certain characteristics on how you quantify what's what, and it's, as far as I know, it's nothing like, oh well, that's hate speech. It's like that's the psyop, right? Because then who controls the narrative of what hate speech is? And that's a good example of like in the way that Twitter or X is not necessarily as free as you think it is. Because what, I could be wrong about this, but do you remember the freedom of speech but not freedom of reach? That was like, I think in 2022. No, 2023. I think it was 2023. So, but I could be wrong. Essentially the idea that it's like you can say what you want, but it might not get promoted in the algorithm as much. I don't have the details in front of me, so I could be wrong about this whole thing, or maybe they dialed that back, or maybe they did away with that. And if they did do away with it, then good, but if they didn't, then it kind of goes further to proving the point. So feel free to look into that yourself and, correct me if I'm wrong. But it's like, it's these kinds of things, right, that, yeah, to come back to how pro-America really are you? And like, so if you're really America first and constitutional, are you going to actually uphold the First Amendment fully? And then you get into like, okay, are you a free speech absolutist, yes or no? And it's like, you have to, it's that age old debate, like during COVID, it's like freedom versus security, where it's like, and what motivates it, right? So if you have like the full proper legal version of the First Amendment, like freedom of speech to the utmost degree, up until the point of where it's not legally protected speech, right? Then there's risks that come with that, or there's aggravations or whatever. There's frustrations that may come with that. But at least like you have this freer society where people can openly talk about all kinds of things, rather than just like the designated things that are viewed as okay to talk about, right? So, and then the other side of it is you have the more pro-security side, which probably the full extent of that is probably like modern day, CCP, Chinese Communist Party, control of so much of what people can do, I assume, where, how many things are off limits from conversation, and like who decides what's okay, and is the standard even like continuous, or is it always changing? Because it's like, do you remember any examples from the past 4 years about how one month this is okay, then the next it's not, etc. So who controls what is, allowed? So it's like the more of the pro security side you welcome in, like the worse risks in a way that you have to encounter, because now it's like everything kind of falls in the lap of a few people that are at the top of the power structure. So it's like, is it a free market or not? Right? Anyway, moving on. So this is maybe a testing period for like what people are really all about. And now I'm going to get into something that is kind of wild. So this first started happening in November, I think, of last year. So somebody I know sent me something on Facebook about this fog. So I think I was sent a video about maybe fog in the UK, and then another video about fog in Florida, or mist or whatever, something like that. And I don't know if the mist video is accurate to being along with what's happening here, but I'm just going to read through this. So England has 10th of expected sunshine amid anticyclonic gloom. When was the last time, or have you ever heard that ever? Met Office says. Gray and misty weather has been a mainstay this month, but brighter skies should arrive soon. When have you ever had somebody write an article like this ever, where you have to maybe they've been written, I haven't heard of headlines like this where it's like you have to reassure people in the news that like brighter skies should arrive soon. Like that's something that you actually have to write about. It's not just assumed. And maybe what I'm saying is a bit ridiculous, where it's like people can write an article about anything. But this just kind of feels a bit odd. Like maybe other people have written similar stuff about weird weather patterns or occurrences, but are they really what they say it is? Because then I was watching another video where it was talking about, is this kind of like another psyop thing, and the guy was saying how they just like make up stuff and make up terms. So this term, I don't know when it emerged or when it came out or how long it's been a term for. But anyway, if things have felt especially gloomy this week, it is not just the politics. The gray mist that seems to have descended is down to an outlier weather event that has been underway since the start of November, with some regions of England recording just a few minutes of sunshine this month. So I think I've heard things about like it raining a lot in London or Europe or Scotland or whatever, like let's just say over their UK area. Maybe different areas have different kinds of levels of gloomy weather. But is this normal? Recording just a few minutes of sunshine this month? A few minutes? Like, are they being serious, or is that just like somebody writing an opinion piece? And so I think that, this is under the category of news, I believe. So if they're following that, but I mean, nowadays a lot of news is more so opinion, or more than it was. So a continual period of anticyclonic gloom is the reason for the dreary overcast conditions of fog. I just feel like, when have you ever heard somebody use this to explain fog? Drizzle and low cloud, according to the Met Office. There's not been anything hazardous that we have to warn for, so it's not anything people need to worry about. But constant gray skies and no sunshine probably doesn't do any good for people's mental health, said Jonathan Vautry at Met Office meteorologist. So keep this in mind, right? So they're saying there's not been anything hazardous that we have to warn for. So this is something that guy in that video on Facebook was talking about too, where, because I saw something else about how, this was in the States, I think, about how a guy said that like the fog smelt weird. So I'm going to go real quick and see if I could find that in my bookmarks. But it's like, as far as I know, fog or mist shouldn't smell. Like that's not a thing, I don't think. So why? And if people and I think like I'll show you another video later where this lady's talking about like people feeling sick or getting sick or whatever, and it's like that's not normal for fog. So let's see if I could find this video here. Where are we at? Okay, this guy right here. Okay.
All right, so it's crazy foggy right now. But that's not the weird part, okay? Like, number one, it's weird because as it gets later in the day, fog should lighten, dissipate, and it's really not. But the weirdest part is the taste and smell. It smells like after you set off a bunch of fireworks. And
Oh,
like
dear.
the taste of the air is, I mean, the only word I can think of is toxic. It's super weird. And so I'm going for my walk and it's kind of worrying me a little bit. Let me know if you guys are experiencing something like that. That's weird. Yeah, I mean, it smells not right. And I'm 41. I've been through fog. This is something different. Let me know if you guys are experiencing something like that.
All right, so what this guy's talking about here, so this, I see stuff like this coming up on my timeline, and it feels like there's not a whole lot of reporting on it, because here, like, even if I just go to, weird smelling fog in UK, so, and then in January 2019, London experienced mysterious smell that was described as a combination of chlorine and battery acid. The smell was accompanied by a fog that was thought to have been carried on wind from industrialized areas. Austria, Germany, experts suggest chemicals. So I don't know what that is, but that sounds like a niche example, and it's from 2019. Or likely beyond UK's environment. So I don't even know what the affected area of that was, but it's like, then you go into stuff like this, right? So this is not like news articles. So another thing, the fact that the first sight, phantasmia, is a condition that causes you to detect smells that aren't actually in your environment. Okay, so I'm not even using Google right now. I'm using the Brave browser. So, and the fact that I go weird smelling fog in UK, and this is the first link that comes up, right? And don't think that Brave is bad or anything, because it's like maybe I'm just not searching things right, because Brave is probably one of the better or best options potentially that we have on the market right now, at least from what I know of, without using stuff that's like too niche or whatever. Again, I'm not an expert on search engines, so maybe there is something better, but regardless, anyway. But like, keep tabs on this if they start trying to gaslight us into, oh, you're not really, the fog doesn't really smell if you think it smells. Like, if they just start saying stuff like this, which I don't know that anybody necessarily is saying that right now, but if people start doing that, just keep tabs on that, right? And then so does fog have an odor? Fog has a unique scent. What is the reason? So that's from Core. I'm not going there. So mysterious. So I have to go down to here, and then this is the, like, there's nothing even from 2024 up until June 5th, 2024, and then again that's going into that. What causes blah blah blah. I think that might be the same thing as up here. So yeah, like in terms of relevant results, when I said weird smelling fog in UK, it's like you almost have to know this really niche term that I've never heard before until I think yesterday. It's like you have to know that to find the thing, like to find what you're looking for. If I just because if I just heard about this without hearing this term, I would probably just go, I think I would just search weird smelling fog in UK, right? But the fact that right away is you got this article here, and then 2015 or whatever, it's like, it seems like stuff's not handed to you very easily. And again, I'm not going to go into whatever this is, because this is a different situation, I assume, than what we're going through right now. I don't know for certain, but carried on the wind from Austria, Germany, but no one knows precisely what chemicals cause the stench that was like chlorine meets battery. Anyway, so I don't know if this is the same thing at all, but anyway, so then and then I actually looked up the term, which you actually have to know what it is, right? So anticyclonic gloom, again, this is just from the built-in AI in the Brave browser, but anticyclonic gloom is a weather phenomenon characterized by high pressure systems that trap a layer of moisture near the Earth's surface, leading to prolonged periods of dull, cloudy weather, mist, and fog. Notice how in the highlighted section it doesn't say anything about smells, so keep that in mind if you start to see more stuff coming up on the timeline about weird smells. This occurs when high pressure systems known as anticyclones. What is this? What is that term? Anticyclones. Prevent rain-bearing fronts from moving through, resulting in extended dry periods in autumn and winter. The weak sunshine and light winds associated with high pressure can cause moisture to form low clouds, mist, and fog that do not lift or clear easily. So you're telling me that this is the reason for this? So how much of this are we talking about here? It can cause moisture to form low clouds, mist, and fog that do not lift or clear easily. Do not lift or clear easily? Recording just a few minutes of sunshine this month? How battle-hardened is this stuff? And again, I'm saying that kind of like, flippantly, because is that really what's going on, right? So anyway, you could look up what the term means. You have to first hear the term, which I don't know how many people have even heard this term. So okay. So then I looked up Florida anticyclonic gloom, right? Because I heard or saw something about this happening in Florida. Or some weird mist or fog, not necessarily the same mist or fog, but I'm hearing all these different things, right? So are they all the same kind of fog mist thing, or are they different things just happening at the same time? So then I just looked up Florida, and then the actual term, once you know the term, which how many people know this term, but anyway, gloom definition. So then it gave me that's just the AI giving me the definition, but anyway, you have the only thing you have, the first thing you have is the same article from The Guardian, and this is about the UK, right? Yeah, UK weather. So this is the same, right? Yep, everything's the same. When you search up Florida anticyclonic gloom, right? And then the next thing is the Wikipedia thing of anticyclone. What is anticyclonic gloom? Why is it making? So then you go here, and this is BBC. So, November. And I'm guessing this is also in the UK? Yes, dreary weather in the UK blamed on this gloom. So, it doesn't help that this photo has a yellow tinge to it, because people might be like, is that really fog? But anyway, sometimes cameras and how they capture stuff and everything, white balance, etc. But anyway, so the first 1, 2, 3 results, 4 results are only the UK and not anything to do with Florida, right? Britain gripped by anticyclonic gloom, weather phenomenon of fog and gray clouds means the sun could be blotted out for another 10 days. Now, how do they know the amount of days? How do they know the amount of days? Sure, you could say meteorologists, they're just making a guess, but I feel like they would get away with it more if they said it'll probably last a while longer, and they didn't put a day count on it. But when you put a day count on it like that, it's how do you know? Again, they might just say, well, it's just a guess. So Oxford reference, so anyway, you get the point. There doesn't seem, from what I can see here, at least anything in the first searches. What even is this? Is the reference even? I don't know. Anyway, so there's not anything, at least in the first couple to 4 websites. So then you have like this stuff here, which I won't open that, but like I don't know if that's in the UK or if that's somewhere else. But just with the stuff, the internet articles, nothing about Florida, right? Whereas if you go to, and even like there's a, grey sky, sun-starved Britons stuck with anticyclonic gloom. So that's from Sky News a month ago. And remember when it said another 10 days? And I think that article was from early November. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it might have been November 8th. And then, is it still happening? So this is from December 31st. Keep in mind, early-ish November, December 31st. UK. So does anyone else feel like they should be walking around wearing a hecking gas mask? This fog has been here for about 5 days now. It's not normal. Okay, so this is a different place, I assume, with maybe different fog. So did it lift and come back, or is this a different place? I don't know the details. All across America, Canada, and Europe, people are reporting never seen or experienced before bizarre fog. So I'm not sure about Canada reports. I don't know if I've heard anything there yet. Could be wrong. But I don't know. Probably not a coincidence. It's all of a sudden happening everywhere. Right. So if you had it in one place, so if it was just Europe, right? Okay. But if it's Europe, US, and Canada all around the same time, is that normal? And especially if all the places, I don't know if all the places have the similar symptoms or similar stuff that this lady's talking about, but just listen to what she says.
So does anybody else just feel like they should be walking around wearing a fucking gas mask? Like,
So
what
some
is
language
happening
here.
in the UK at the minute with the weather? Because all this fog has been here for about 5 days now, and it is literally not budging. And I have never seen a fog like this, what stayed for longer than 5 days, will not dissipate whatsoever. And I've woke up today with a sore throat. It's obviously the shit that we're breathing in, because I don't feel like this is a normal fog. This is some type of chemical fog. And we all know that they fucking hate us and they want us ill and poorly. And what better way to do it than affecting our air pollution with this shit that they're fucking spraying. I don't even know what it is. But yeah, this fog is not normal. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but if you've got a white car, the fucking car doesn't stay white for any longer than a day. Right, look at all this. I went and got this car cleaned 5 days ago. Look at that. That's not normal. I've never known my car to be so dirty after washing it 5 days after.
So again, I don't know, like I can't verify any of these details, or at least I haven't verified any of these details. Is that dirt on the car caused by the fog? Maybe. Maybe not. Like, I don't know. But if it is, like, if what she's saying is accurate and true, that's probably pretty wild, right? And again, is her waking up with a sore throat because of the fog? I don't know. But if it is, that's probably pretty wild. So, and the fact that she's, so this is the weird thing. So we go back to like, COVID time. So they had to like kind of really put like all this encouragement on people to wear masks, right, during COVID. Whereas now it's like, as far as I know, pertaining to this fog stuff, like she's saying this about a gas mask. And then you got this here, which if it's the same kind of fog, I don't know. There's not been anything hazardous that we have to warn for. So it's not anything people need to worry about. But constant gray skies and no sunshine probably doesn't do any good for people's mental health. And then you got this, right? If that is indeed accurate to what she's saying in sore throat and everything, right? So, and with the events are like bam, 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 bam happening, and it kind of maybe feels like things are speeding up over the last few years, and it's like kind of like the relentless current events. It's like, does anybody else feel like there's no, like, there's not really much brief windows of peace? I don't know. It was weird because it was kind of like it's funny because during the presidential, campaign time, other than like the assassination attempts, it's funny that I have to even say that, or not funny, but it's weird that I even have to say other than the assassination attempts, like as if that's normal, right? No. Other than the assassination attempts, and like any of the other gaffes or the debates or whatever, it felt like, compared to what people might be saying of how heated the electoral campaign time was going to be in terms of crazy stuff happening, other than those, again, major things that I listed, it felt like there was times where it's like, okay, it's not necessarily as relentless, but it feels almost like since the election happened, like it feels like things are, I don't know, I could be completely wrong. Maybe things have been just ramping up the whole time, but it's like, is it weird if it feels like there's more things ramping up in terms of events after the election than before? At the same time, tensions were were there during the election time, pre-election time. So even if things weren't happening, it was still probably kind of tense because it's like America could have been looking in a pretty bad kind of way, right? So anyway, you got the fog, and if it's giving people some kind of, if it's causing sickness, then what's it about? Like, what is happening? And I'm going to find that other video that I saw earlier where this dude apparently put out I'm just going to get you to watch the video here with me, because it's wild, and then you just wait till what the next video that he has underneath it looks like. Right? So you got this here looking at the bowl. Look at all that stuff in there. It's my dog's water bowl. I dumped it yesterday and put fresh water. We had rain this morning and a crazy fog for the past week. This has never happened before. I've never seen anything like this. Come on, X, do your thing. Someone tell me what the heck this is.
Looking at?
So you got like what kind of looks like these little things kind of grouping up, right? Don't drink the water. See how they're kind of grouping up there.
To each other. What the fuck is this? Literally, it just rained, and this shit came. I emptied this yesterday, and this is what the rainwater looks like.
That's kind of wild. So wait, I didn't catch that the first time. I thought he like refilled the bowl, and then maybe it rained and the fog happened. But if I'm understanding that correctly, that is just rainwater in the bowl. What's in that rain? If I'm understanding it correctly. Okay, so I collected a sample using tape that they are now escaping from, and this is what I see under magnification, like they're mating or something. So they're looking like little bugs, little critters. Is this what's in the fog?
Are they fighting or fucking? Look at the hairs on the
I didn't catch that the first time. Oh, dude.
The third one's
Anyway.
backing his booty up into it.
Oh, dear.
What the fuck is going on?
This ain't no Attenborough documentary. Okay. So, what is that? Upon further review, everything that was holding water in my yard has them in them. Okay. Because you could, like, make the argument, like, somebody could like, you know, think of, like, the counter argument. Somebody could say, okay, well, like, does the dog have worms? And, like, he went to drink the water and the dog transferred worms or something. But I don't know if worms even look like that in a dog. And even then, like, would the worms even be in the mouth of the dog? Aren't they normally, like, in the intestines or whatever? I don't know enough about any of that. I'm not a vet. Anyway, so if everything that is holding water on his property has that in it, like he seems to be saying, that is something else. Yeah, everything that was holding water in my yard has them in them. So when he says it looks like nanomachines, I disagree with that only because they look much more biological than they do robotic. Like, this just, even, like, you look at, like, the little, like, kind of hairs or whatever, and it's like, that just looks more like an insect, or some sort of you could call it maybe a parasite or whatever. Developing an EMP. I mean, okay. Anyway, so what the heck is going on is a reasonable response to all of this. And is this really just fog? But here's all this to say, so whenever a big event happens, now it's almost like we need to kind of train ourselves to think, okay, while this is happening, is it possible that there is something else happening that this main thing is meant to distract me from, right? So, remember all those drones that went up? And I remember hearing something. I don't know if this is true at all. This could be wrong. But something about, trying to detect for nuclear radiation emission or something like that, or radiation emission. I don't know about nuclear, but radiation emission or something whatever it was. I don't exactly know what it was or know if any of that's true or not. But if you got the drones up there, right, and what was that about? What's it for? Do we even know? And then now you got this fog, and what about weather manipulation, etc., etc.? And isn't it true that the head of the CIA admitted, I think, possibly, that they could manipulate the weather? So I'm going to look that up. Influence weather patterns. So to a plan to influence weather patterns, that's a bit different than saying that they have the ability to. If you're just talking about the actual, context of how the sentence structure is made. Okay, there hasn't been a formal admission by the head of the CIA regarding the ability to control and influence weather patterns. However, discussions around weather modification have occurred, particularly in the context of military and research programs like Project HARP or cloud seeding, which have raised concerns and intrigue about weather manipulation capabilities. I think Patrick Bet-David at one point in a podcast talked about how they literally admitted this. So I'm going to see if I can find that clip real quick. But it's we maybe just need to wake up. So, just one second. PBD, CIA weather. Trying to find this. Because it could be wrong about all this. It could be possible that they don't admit or say that they can influence weather patterns. But I think that somebody said something about this. I'm not turning up what I was looking for here. They're capable of influencing the weather. So, with cloud seeding and everything. But here's the thing. Even if they claim it's debunked in mainstream media stuff, weren't you considered just a conspiracy theorist for saying that COVID came from a lab in Wuhan? So, I think Elijah Schaefer said that conspiracy theories are just spoilers or something like that. So, James Woolsey, who served as the director of the CIA from 1993-95, has discussed the link between climate change and national security. However, there is no confirmation from the current or past heads of CIA that the agency is capable of influencing the weather. I'm going to say that's sus, but I don't know, is this it?
Here we go.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do.
So, if we are understanding that correctly, then is it possible that they either already are able to or are looking in to how to influence the weather or the climate? So, I'm gonna leave that there because I could be wrong about the speculation and everything else. But if I'm not, then, what's going on? Anyway, then there's this other lady that posted this, the disrespected trucker shared this from, so whoever that is on TikTok. So just listen to what she's got to say and think about it.
I don't know if it's just me, but for the last few days, I have been having this weird feeling like something big is about to happen, right? Like this weird feeling of impending doom. I have been having this crazy feeling like in my belly. I don't know what it is, okay? To be brutally honest, I feel like something is already happening. And here's why. For the last few days, there have been crazy reports of dense, thick fog in many states all over America, in addition to the UK. Now, this is not your regular fog because a lot of people have been reporting that they have been seeing some weird type of mist coming out of the sky with this fog, okay? In addition to that, there have been 4 plane crashes, y'all, within the last 5 days, okay? 3 of those plane crashes occurred within the last 24 hours. You had one on Christmas Day in Kazakhstan, and then within the last 24 hours, you had one in South Korea, Nova Scotia, as well as Norway. In addition to that, y'all, so many people have been reporting this weird sickness, whereas though they're having muscle soreness, sore throat, body aches, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, the whole 9, and they said that this sickness had just been coming out of nowhere. I don't know about you, but I feel like something big is happening or about to happen, and these people just are not telling us. What are your thoughts?
So this is the interesting thing of where we're at. So first of all, I don't know anything about the plane crashes beyond what I've heard here. So that could be correct, but then again, I don't know. I just, there's an irony to, during COVID, fairly quickly, they made sure everybody knew about it and was taking certain actions pertaining to COVID and everything. Now, that did, to be fair, take some level of months to actually enact some sort of executive order action or emergency order, whatever it's called. Because, COVID apparently started in China in, 2019, some point, whether, I don't know if it was in November or December or October or some point in 2019, I think. And then started making more, of a news or headlines or whatever, or becoming more of a known about thing in maybe December. I think it was just before Christmas break. A friend of mine in college, classmate of mine, told me about it, and he said they were saying it was going to be a big pandemic or something like that. That's back when there was only maybe 40,000 cases or whatever, something like that. And then you fast forward to March, and now people are countries are doing stuff, right? And then it's it was all, for the most part, all you heard about, right? And and again, I could be a bit hyperbolic here with what I'm about to say, or a bit off base here, but with if what this lady's saying is true about a bunch of people having these symptoms and all this other stuff in the fog, in these places, and if the other ladies or the other people are right about it smelling funny, and if people are getting sick from it and everything, if all this is happening, you think that they would make a pretty big deal about it, right? But you look it up, and I just don't think that that's the case. So, weird fog causing illness. So just look up something like that. Brain fog. FogVid24. Making US and UK resident. Okay. 1 day ago. So it's interesting. I had it go like that. And if I just went weird fog Florida, that didn't come up. Those are alien spores. Okay. So maybe people are starting to report on it now. And then brain fog, COVID-19 brain fog. So, okay. So we got 2 sources in the first few here. So we got these 2 sources. But I don't know, like Times Now World and Sportskeeda. Like, these are the sites reporting on it? You know, like, where's if what these people are saying is true, where's all your mainstream media people listing off, like, list all the names, right? Whether it's CNN, Fox, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, whatever. Where are they sounding the alarm on this? But instead, like, the only thing I think we've heard about is like bird flu. So anyway, is FogVid24 making US and UK residents sick? What we know. A thick fog referred to as FogVid24. So that's kind of a cringe name, but anyway. Has affected travel throughout the US and UK, resulting in flight delays, rail difficulties, and dangers on highways, while fueling conspiracy theories regarding health impacts such as cold and flu signs. Regarding health impacts such as cold and flu signs. Social media has heightened worries as viral posts claim illnesses associated with fog exposure. However, medical professionals advise caution, emphasize the importance of validated information. Okay, so that's the guy I showed you earlier. This is the video I was sent on Facebook. So again, I don't know. Like, this looks more like, I think almost. Do you ever see those scenes in movies where like ash is falling? This is like really small particulate versions of like when you got clumps of fog, or clumps of ash rather, falling in a movie, or maybe after like a volcano or whatever. But this is a bit different. This is also kind of more like, it does kind of give the vibe of when you see like maybe like some science fiction spore thing or whatever. Yeah, so this is all like popping off recently. Like the December 30th. Those are alien spores. Dude, keep tabs on this, man. So, and the dog just chilling, I assume. So anyway, so I don't know if I'm going to read this whole thing, but a dense fog has enveloped large parts of the United States, disrupting travel and sparking conspiracy theories. The occurrence referred to as FogVid24, we need a different name, has allegedly induced cold and flu-like symptoms in hundreds of individuals exposed to the fog. So again, I don't know necessarily how you determine that, but again, it's one of those things where it's like I'm more willing to believe it, that it's a possibility, with everything going on, all the stuff, Reports show that the fog has impacted air travel, rail systems, and highways in multiple areas, as reported by Sportskeeda. So I assume this is like a sports outlet. I could be wrong. If they're one of the few people that are reporting on this right now, like, what the heck, man? Major airports in both UK and US have experienced considerable delays and cancellations. Heathrow, Luton, and Manchester airports in the UK experienced major disruptions resulting from low visibility. In the United States, impacted regions consist of California, Texas, Florida, and sections of the Midwest. Viral conspiracy theories. So I'll just read this part and then move on. Viral conspiracy theories. Online, the fog has fueled conspiracy theories. Some claim it is a chemical mist, not a natural phenomenon. Videos and images on platforms like X, formerly Twitter, show users allegedly attributing symptoms such as fever, fatigue, and sore throat to exposure. Sportskeeda notes the term FogVid24 mirrors COVID-19 due to alleged symptom similarities. I haven't heard anything about loss of taste or smell. Okay, so those are alien spores. Internet reacts as FogVid24. This name's probably going to stick too, because it's got like the weird meme cringe kind of vibe. Fog making people sick. Conspiracy sparks alarm across the globe. So, sparks alarm across the globe, but like no one's reporting on it? Or you have to go to Twitter. You have to go to Twitter for reporting on it. And this is the irony. It's like, if it's actually that big of a deal, why? Like, let's just go real quick, CNN. If this ain't on the front page, so you have the thing in New Orleans, right? Dangerously cold, even for winter. So what happened to global warming if it's even for winter? Like, dangerously cold. So, it's like, pick a lane. So, Cybertruck thing. And then you're wondering, like, what I said earlier, like, what are the things that are happening that are maybe meant to distract you from the other things that are happening? It's maybe kind of difficult to discern which one is which and what is what, right? Like, this explosion thing. Is this a distraction, or was this meant to be, like, a main event causing havoc? So, let's just F3 fog. 0 results for fog on the homepage of CNN. Okay. Now let's go to Fox. So, just have the word fog. 0 results. Then let's go to MSNBC. Let's go fog. Nothing. So I'm just, doing the whole page search where you just put F3 and type the word in. So unless the page search is not reading the headlines properly and I've missed something, it doesn't seem like people are talking about it, or at least mainstream. So just to confirm if the search would work, yeah. So I typed in death, and right there it's able to detect that word. If I go FBI lowercase, it still detects FBI uppercase, so that's not the issue. It's just that people just don't seem to be talking about it, except for these 2 random sites, FogVid24. Anyway, so the United Kingdom, UK is experiencing a thick layer of fog that has affected lights, trains, and other modes of travel. In wake of this incident, a conspiracy theory has circulated online that it is not a regular, but a chemical mist that has reportedly left hundreds of people sick with sudden cold/flu-like symptoms. So then I think that this is the same thing as before, so I'll open that one for later. So the whole alien spores thing, FogVid24. So anyway, so there's this one. So there might not be an extreme amount of examples, but there's probably enough for somebody to maybe say something, So anyway, reports from around the globe are surfacing of mysterious illnesses linked to encounters with so-called chemical fogs, described as a thick, lingering blanket. The fog has left people sick, many experiencing sudden cold or flu-like symptoms after only brief exposure. Dubbed FogVid24, some victims have also reported an unexplained loss of energy.
Looks like it's conclusive. FogVid24 is a real thing. The previous video is going viral. If you go and read the comment section, everybody's saying they were completely fine. They didn't feel anything coming on. But then as soon as they went out in this fog, whatever it is, they got a sore throat. They had to go to bed. They couldn't sleep. They were bunged up. They had migraines. They lost all their energy. And not only them, everyone in the household. There's mums reporting on it saying all the kids are ill. We've got people in Kentucky. We've got people in Sweden. We've got people in Finland, all reporting the same thing. The fog has made them sick. And it's scenarios like this that always have an adverse effect. Whatever they're doing in the skies, whatever they're spraying, whatever this fog is, they're obviously doing it for a reason, but it is going to wake people up. People have had enough. They're sick of being poked, they're sick of being prodded, they're sick of poison in the air and poison in the food, poison in the milk, poison in the mind. We're being pummeled in more ways we can imagine to demoralise us over a period of time, so when things get to a critical point and everyone's screaming out for a saviour, the government's going to be there, but they were the ones that created the problem in the first place.
So that's worth noting, what he sums up at the end there. How often, I think maybe people might kind of learn, or be learning, or may soon learn, that is it possible that most of the problems in terms of these larger issues are created by us being like our own countries, our own governments, right? So it's like, how many of the problematic extremist movements or groups have been created by governments, whether they intended to do that or not? How many of the issues in the world have been created by governments taking certain actions, right? Versus if we just kind of like, to use the phrase live and let live to a degree, like if governments, shocker, just focused on just trying to help their own people out and run a good country, is it possible that things would be kind of chill, right? But, you know, all have sinned and fallen short of glory of God. So, like, the world is a sinful, messed up place. So people are going to be doing bad stuff, right? That hasn't changed. Just in terms of just analyzing examples or concepts, right? How often do we create our own problems? And how often do the people that create the problems then also create the solution to the problem and then make money off of it, or get control or power or whatever? Because one of the real kickers might be is what happens when people are above money, in the sense that it's not about the money for them, it's about something different. That's maybe the scary reality, because sometimes they might just be saying, oh, like, you know, XYZ government person or company just wants to make money off of the problem. It's like, what happens if they're like super duper rich and they don't actually need the money or care about the money? What happens if it's like a God complex for them, where they're just trying to kind of become God in their own eyes or whatever, and trying to just kind of do that world domination thing, get more control, etc., etc. What happens when it becomes like that kind of a pursuit for a group or a government or a person? That's probably pretty scary when you analyze that mindset or what that is, because then it's like, at that point, what's their goal, right? And what are they willing to do to get there? And like, can you even reason with people like that when they're in that state, where it's just like they're bent on this kind of controlling and, you know, probably really destructive means to an end, right? And if the ends justify the means, then what won't people do to accomplish their goals, however bad they are, right? However bad the goals are. So, yeah, food for thought, man. It's crazy times, and it feels like things are just kind of, heating up, I guess, and like things are speeding up, not slowing down. And it's like we're attacked on every front kind of thing. Like, if this is what's in the fog, right? If this is the crap that's in the fog, again, I don't know. But if that's what's in the fog, what the heck is going on, right? And like, we can make jokes about it and stuff like that, but it's like, this might actually be... Is it possible that this could be worse than COVID or anything else ever was, right? And yeah, like, are we talking about an actual next level problem here? Again, we don't know. God's in control. But these are kind of crazy times, and we just started 2025. It is just the new year. So anyway, beyond that, ooh, interesting. I just saw this now. The pattern is too clear to ignore at this point. So I believe that this is in relation to blue check marks being taken from people. So Sam Hyde, no blue check mark. I assume he had one before. And if you look at what Sam Hyde. Okay, it's back. But it was gone. Now it's back. So... okay. So then maybe it's just a technical thing? It's because he changed his name/bio. And then he says that. Always is like that. Already mentioned this. Might want to delete this. Once rumors get started, they don't stop. Meaning the original post. I don't think so. It was something I noticed, and it was removed because of a pic change. So, okay. So maybe false alarm. But to the whole rumors getting started thing, worth noting, right? It could be really easy. And this is the tough thing as well, is like how many things are misinterpretations and how many things are just really that bad. And it can be difficult to figure out which is which. So anyway, yeah, hopefully everything's chill. So I don't know if I'm going to do the Sam Hyde video reaction tonight or not. Because it's 46 minutes. I could probably listen on 1.5 times speed. Yeah, because to run commentary on it might take too long. Okay, so I think I might just end it there. So, fog stuff popping off. What the heck is going on? And if this fog thing is legit, like not, if this fog thing is not natural, where does this go from here? I'll end on probably this note. So this will lead into the whole Sam Hyde video, right? So I'm gonna do, okay, and then there's another picture changed. So I'm gonna get into this probably tomorrow. React to that, do commentary on it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna talk about this. So because right now it's like, it seems like Indians are a really big conversational topic here. So it's from Bruce. So Bruce Barrett. I don't really know who this guy is. Canada first. Okay, make comedy great again. Joke teller. So maybe he's a comedian. Maybe. Anyway, so always followed by Maxime Bernier. Anyway, New Year's Eve at Yonge and Dundas Square is celebrated with Punjabi music. Your culture has been replaced. Canada is gone unless we have mass deportations now, is what he says. And Yonge and Dundas is in Toronto, to my knowledge. So... So I guess, okay, alright, so it's worth noting, Canadians are assimilating to Indian culture quite. Oh yeah, so Toronto Eaton Centre. The one random black dude. So I don't know if the music's gonna get my content copyright striked or whatever, but anyway, so yeah, I don't know. It's like this is the thing. The waters get kind of muddy in situations like this because you're talking about like what is the value of assimilation, right? So let's define assimilation, right? So define assimilate. Okay, to consume and incorporate nutrients into the body after digestion. Okay, so to transform food into, this is more along like the body stuff, to incorporate and absorb into the mind. Assimilate means to absorb and integrate information, ideas, or culture into one's own understanding or practices. It can refer to the way individuals or groups adopt elements from other cultures or how students learn and internalize new knowledge. Okay. So, if you have a country that has a given culture and history, and then you have people immigrate or emigrate, whichever word is proper usage there, to that country, but then if they don't take on the values and the culture of that country they go to, then do they kind of just live in this sort of outpost isolation mindset where it's like if everybody, like, so say you have a bunch of people that come over from a specific country to Canada, but they don't assimilate, they don't become Canadian, whatever that even means, right? Because what does it even mean to be Canadian nowadays? A bunch of people come over from a different country into Canada, and they don't assimilate, they don't take on the culture and values and etc. And they basically just live here, work here, live here, like whatever, if they just live in the country. But then if they form their own little kind of isolated community in Canada, where they kind of basically make it their country 2.0 outpost located in Canada, and it's almost kind of like two different societies that just are right up beside each other, right, in the same country. On a long enough time frame, where does that go? What does that look like? How does that affect the place? Especially if the cultures are so vastly different that they're actually like abrasive to one another, or they don't mix, right? So if you have people that have like Christian values, and then you have a bunch of people that just don't, and if anything, if they have the opposite. So that's not necessarily the example here, but just imagine a scenario where you have people with completely different values. And I mean, you could argue even like the whole India versus Canada thing, like Canada's probably extremely secular at this point. So how many people even have like Christian values here nowadays? But if you actually had a Canada that was very Christian, and then if you had a bunch of people coming from India, and say they were all Hindu or whatever their national religion is, then those are different religions. And if people completely adhere to each of their own religions, is it possible that that's going to cause a certain amount of social, like the opposite of cohesion? So define cohesion. So the act, process, or condition of cohering. Okay, cohesion generally refers to the degree to which the components of a system or object are unified or work together as a single entity. In software engineering, for instance, okay, blah, blah, blah. So if I understand that correctly, okay, so high cohesion is ideal as it means that the module has a well-defined purpose. Okay, that's talking about like the more mechanical and the non-social. Yeah, in software engineering, for instance. Okay, so anyway, so if I understand the term properly, if you have a situation where you have a big lack of social cohesion as a result of people having very different religions, and if those religions really dictate, or those faiths that the people have really dictate how they live their lives, and if it results in people living their lives very differently, then isn't it possible, obviously, that you might have a lack of social cohesion, a lot of disgruntlements, and maybe agitations, or people not being able to live together well, right? And then, because like this is the thing right now, it's like with the whole coexist argument, right? It really kind of comes down to how seriously do you take your faith and your culture. Because like if you have two different people groups that don't, like, to put it plainly, they don't vibe together very well. Like, if they just don't get along on some sort of core foundational levels with certain ways that they culturally act, right? Then, like, how does that pan out on a long enough time frame? Where does that lead, right? We're kind of watching that play out in real time, if we haven't already. Like, what is the long-term effect of a country that is viewed as a melting pot, right? Because I think, and Elijah Schaefer has talked a lot about this, where, and his perspective is going to be from like the inherently kind of more negative outlook on the whole thing, and you could argue that that's because the results we're seeing, a lot of times, at least the results that are making more of a headline or results that are you're just seeing on Twitter or whatever, are more on the negative side, right? So, is it possible that people are realizing that maybe it just doesn't work? Is it possible, right, that if you have a bunch of people that just get together and they all have very different kind of beliefs and cultures, right? If they don't assimilate, is that bound to cause problems, right? Answer that question. If it does cause problems, what kind of problems? What does that look like? And can the country survive in that kind of way? Can it thrive in that kind of way? Because don't think of it just about survival, but think about like thriving. Like, are we actually having any betterment? Because it's weird. It's almost like we've kind of gotten used to things just kind of slowly getting worse. And it's like as if we're expected to just assume that that's just how it is, and that's part of how things go, and that's to be expected as normal. Like, it's weird. It's like we've been coaxed into this mindset of where things getting worse is just supposed to be like considered how it is, and just how things go, and that you can't really fix it or whatever, but that's just life or something. And it's like, when did that become like the standard or the expectation? Like, should we, as a citizenry, if we pay taxes and etc., expect that things should get better rather than worse, that things should improve rather than devolve? Is that fair, right? But it's almost like, and again, this kind of comes into the idea that it's like, if they really cared about the problems, then the problems would be fixed, kind of thing. I think that might be a big realization moment for people, where it's like, if our governments really cared about the problems, then would the problems be fixed, or be fixed already, right? But it's always like, instead, it's like there's like probably some reasoning or excuse, or like, oh, that's just the way it is, or we just can't fix that, or like something, or we're getting to it, but like, have you been getting to it forever, right? And so then if you actually have somebody that really cares about the priorities or what matters to the people, and then they start actually fixing things, then doesn't that just expose the whole game, the whole show of it, right? So that maybe that's the age we're in right now, where we might see just how fake it all is, or how disingenuous maybe that it all is. Anyway. Kind of crazy times we're living in. We'll see what happens with all that fog and everything. Beyond that, yeah, I'll do some Sam Hyde commentary. When I saw on the Quarterings channel Sam Hyde pop up, it was kind of like, oh wow, because I've been listening to some Sam Hyde over the past, I don't know, maybe couple months or whatever, I don't know the exact amount of time. And I find him, he's pretty interesting. He's just an interesting guy to listen to. Don't necessarily agree with him on everything, but he's interesting. So this right here, when I saw this video pop up, it's like, oh dude, Sam Hyde, because I'm kind of used to, like Sam's kind of a guy that I don't know that he's like immensely popular, but he's like probably kind of popular, so I don't necessarily expect him to be breaking into like the mainstream conversation in this kind of way, but it seems like he is, because if you go to that video that he's recently going, I don't know if you want to use the term viral, but I mean 14 million views, quite good. That's kind of viral, so yeah, interesting. And then now we got, yeah, all this other stuff happening. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens. I'm just saying, is there anything else currently going on? Before we end things off, oh yeah, I saw something about like AI robot girlfriend or whatever, like where you could choose the AI in the app and then upload it into the bot. We're approaching kind of more of a dystopia, more and more of where things are going to be. Things are getting. How do I end this? I don't know how to end this. Yeah, we're gonna see how 2025 is gonna be. It's already getting heated and bad, but it doesn't mean that it will all be bad. You know, like, is it possible for things to improve? Obviously it is, right? God is in control. God is sovereign. And so, until next time, this has been the Daily Event.